international recruitment and then training and development. This really is a huge issue as you go through. You're going to a different country to sit down and expand your operations, but it also part of the expansion may be recruiting and hiring people at dramatically lower wages than really your home office country is actually paying currently. So that being said, the training and development shifts from being something that's casual to something that moves front and center to make certain that everybody's doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, because the skill sets may not be, maybe the education level isn't there, but also maybe the experience isn't there as you go through. A lot of times, if you go in and have a geocentric staffing policy, in other words, you just hire the best person for the job without consideration of any national origin, sometimes you get a fabulous deal on wages, but also you may be missing that opportunity for the host country that you're in of actually recruiting the people that are actually physically there and actually getting them to buy into your company philosophically because they work there, but also they'll also have the aspect of the cultural aspect and knowing the interior of what the marketing strategy can and should be to win those people over in that country as you go through. So geocentric is a good policy because you're just hiring the best people, but sometimes you want to have a PCN one where the parent country it has that over there, and you want to have the parent company coming in and making certain they understand the culture to translate it back to the home office, or you want to have really the host country that you're in right there, making certain you really are hiring to make sure you're hitting your market, your HCN as you go through, because they're going to know all the different ins and outs, who does what, who buys what, who sells what in the process, how to hire in the process. And then sometimes you get a third country national. They can accept lower wages because they're a different country as they go through the whole process. But that being said, you can sit to save a huge amount of money just by hiring whoever is available, especially in the TCNs, because of the fact that the wages could be significantly lower and you can have a huge cost reduction as you go through. When you talk anything about the international staffing, you got really three different kind of classes generally to look at. You got the employees hired in the host country. There's a term seldom used actually in patriots, and then you have the flex patriots, which are home, third world, or anybody on short-term assignments. But the biggest group you have to really concern you about is the expatriates or the expats, we tend to call them. And they're relocated from the host country to the host country from the home country or a third country as they go through. Usually these assignments are 2 to 5 years long. And the average age of the expats are declining as you go through. And a larger portion of them nowadays are women. In the past, it's been a very small minority. Now that is growing substantially as they go through. They really can bring a lot of the expats bring scarce technical and managerial skills to the host country, really bringing that high level expertise sometimes that really makes certain that everything articulates well into the actual parent company as a whole, and the experience really can develop their skills for themselves into leaderships within the company long term as they go through. The cost of expats are substantial, and the failure rates are unfortunately high as you go through. About a quarter leave the company during the assignment. So you got a 2 to 5 year assignment and a quarter leave. That could really be damaging to their career as well as the company, because really they're leaving before the assignment's done. Something went awry, and they may have a bad taste in their mouth for the company or the country as they go through. Maybe it's damaging with the family. They're away from their origins, and that can be very difficult sometimes as you go through. So really on the international recruitment, training and development, know the following: the in-patriots, people in the host country as you go through, the flex patriots or wherever they're at, and then the third country employees often on short-term assignments, and especially the expatriates as you go through as well. Take care.